So good morning, NBC. The young and the young at heart, and all the munchkins out there. I am so grateful that you have decided to join us today for our youth and family service. I have a fun fact. This is not the very first youth and family service here at NBC. What? Did you miss it? Were you on vacation? No. There's a handful of you out there who are our longtime members. Our practitioner, Jolene Bainey, she reminded me that some time ago, the kids and the teens would contribute occasionally to the Sunday message. The only thing is, Jolene discovered, is that that was 31 years ago. I wasn't here. I bet half of you weren't here. So without further ado, our current NVC Youth and Family presents the Wisdom of Ahhh and Finding Your Own Yellow Brick Road. I could not be prouder of these kids. In fact, the tears just keep flowing. From Maya, to come out and be so amazing. To Bryn, to Claire and Crosby and Kenny, and to Cash and Isaiah and Zoe and Addie and Charisma and Catherine. They have come together as my little munchkins, and they are putting on this entire Sunday service. So thank you. When Reverend Karen and I, we visioned together, we visioned a youth and family ministry that would be vibrant and thriving and loving and inclusive. We envisioned a ministry that would be supported not only by the ecclesiastic team, but by the leadership council and by every single member in our congregation. I just want you to look around, because look, we are here. We are loved and we are supported and we are seen. I want to share with you our youth and family vision statement. For youth, we create an environment of unconditional love and respect so that children have the freedom to explore and experience their divine expression. For adults, we are a leading resource for the adults who influence and support the spiritual lives of children. For our families, we support the deepening of family faith through spiritual education, support, and unconditional love. And as your youth and family director, I am committed to listening to Spirit's call and opening my heart and being that divine channel through which Spirit pours itself into expanding this vision for all of our families. Reverend Karen asked me if youth and family ministry would be interested in doing a Sunday service sometime. Now, I started this job in January, but I said, yes. Yes, okay, yes. So they're gonna do everything from the talk to, did you see our Dorothy's out there? Oh my gosh, yeah. So we said yes. Part of our lesson plans to the leading up to today meant that we had to talk about what goes on here in big church. These kids, many of them didn't know. We had to talk about the gong. We had to talk about the candle. We had to talk about the chant and the prayers and the music ministry. We had to talk about our vision and mission statement. These were all big concepts for these kids, but we went through it and we talked about it. And these kids are amazing. They said it comes together so that we could be family. They learned that all of these individual parts come together to create this safe container for us to be loved and celebrated, and that each and every voice matters. They also learned that there are different voices, different talents, and different places along the path of spiritual learning. Isn't that kind of like a family anyway? Yeah. So it's been delightful for me to just see how these kids easily adopted these grown-up concepts and embraced new opportunities. A huge shout out to Ken Casey, who you saw him do the reading, for his thoughtful and consistent lesson plans. He provides me with a framework. It ties in usually with the adult message every Sunday, and it gives us a launching off place for us to deepen in youth church. I bet some of the kids come home and tell you, as your parents, what we did in youth church. I'm also profoundly grateful for all the committed grown-ups in the room who have contributed generously, and for our teen mentors who are growing up and helping to inspire these wonderful and amazing kids. The first principle that we deepened into when I started planning this service was oneness. It doesn't matter where we are on Sunday morning, here in big church, watching us online, or if we're across the lobby in youth church, we are one. We are all in this together. We are one big family. We are NVC. So how did we choose The Wizard of Oz as a theme? Well, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz is a timeless story written by L. Frank Baum. He wrote it back in the 1900s. But most people don't know that he wrote several book sequels, that it was done as theater productions, before it ever became the 1939 rendition of The Wizard of Oz with Judy Garland. So many things had happened prior to that. This classic story also tied in beautifully with our annual theme of all paths lead home. I felt it held enduring wisdom. Sorry, I have to cue the kids. Okay, time to line up. This classic story tied in beautifully to our NVC annual theme, all paths lead home. I felt that this story held wisdom for adults and kids alike. The Wizard of Oz is a story about a girl named Dorothy. She lives in rural Kansas, and she faces difficult challenges of not being understood and of having her dog and her joy and her freedom threatened by Miss Gulch, and a giant tornado that literally lifts her off of her foundation. When we discussed this story in class, some of our kids also shared stories, their personal stories of struggles and challenges. When that happens in our class, we pause. We give the speaker undivided attention, and we share with them love, because what they're saying is very important. Dorothy, she embarks on a heroine's journey. This journey is one of enlightenment, and she discovers some universal truths along the way as she follows the yellow brick road. There's a quote by Oliver Wendell Holmes that goes, "A mind stretched by a new idea can never return to its original dimension." Our invitation today is for you grown-ups out here to open your hearts to wonder and discovery. perhaps you too can view the world again through the eyes of a child or a young person. It does not matter if we are 4 or 84, because we can all awaken and learn something new every day. The kids and I will now introduce you to a few of the very special characters we meet in The Wizard of Oz. Okay.
When you entered the sanctuary today, you were greeted by our Dorothys. Dorothy is our heroine. She's an individual soul who represents all of us. Dorothy embarks on a big journey to try and get back home. We can see this as trying to reconnect with the divine spark or light within us. Dorothy encounters many challenges but finds support, guidance, and kindness along the way. Toto is her faithful dog, and he is always right beside her. We might see Toto as sweet spirit or God, fueling our creativity, imagination, and intuition. We are learning to trust Spirit, who guides, guards, and protects us from harm every step of the way. We are learning it is important to communicate with and listen to that still small voice within us. We see in the story Dorothy is always talking with Toto, and Toto is always talking with Dorothy, often by barking and warning her of danger.
There were 4 witches in the Wizard of Oz story. Today we're only going to tell you the metaphysical meaning of 3 of them. The underlying presence of the Wicked Witch of the East, remember she was Miss Gulch, suggests old, tired beliefs. They're the beliefs that keep us stuck in the past, unable to move on from Munchkin Land, unable to realize the dreams that we desire for ourselves until we crush them like Dorothy's house, replacing them with a new idea, a new thought, or a new belief. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, teaches us to change our old thinking and change our lives.
The Wicked Witch of the West and her flying monkeys suggest the dark side of humanity, often triggering our deepest fears. These can be fears of being separated from the light or heading down the wrong path. The Wicked Witch also personifies the hurtfulness of being put down, threatened, or even bullied, like the Wicked Witch does with Dorothy's friends. These scary characters, the witch and the monkeys, point to our most difficult challenges, and they offer us rich environments for us to grow. In class, we asked, could we view them as actors in disguise, just playing the parts in which we have assigned them to? Here's a little secret. They're actually divine spirit. Glenda, the good witch of the Glenda, the good witch of the north, symbolizes light and love. She offers us a glimpse of our evolutionary path. Glenda reminds us that we alone must discover the hidden truths as we take the less traveled path, and our trust our international guide.
The Scarecrow is a very easy favorite. When practitioner Bill Sneed visited Youth and Family Ministry one day, and yes, all adults can come and visit, he shared that the Scarecrow always had the best ideas. He was the one who came up with the plan to rescue Dorothy. The kids in our class said that if the Scarecrow didn't have a brain, he couldn't talk and wouldn't be alive. And Reverend Laurie said, "You're on something there." The Scarecrow often represents our logic, our thoughts, and a thirst for knowledge. But Reverend Laurie said, the deeper meaning of the Scarecrow reminds us that we are all sourced by one universal intelligence.
We now come to the Tin Man, who represents our emotions and our caring and compassionate selves. The Tin Man is all about love and our heart's deepest desires. We are learning that we can communicate with God anytime. God is a part of us and can hear us best when we talk to God from our heart. God's greatest desires is to express love to us and through us and as us. We know God is love. God loves all of its creations. No one is ever left out. All creatures are made from love, and therefore we all have love within us right from the very start, even the Tin Man.
Who here has ever been brave, shown courage, taken action even when you were really, really scared? Then you might relate to the quality of courage that we see expressed in the Cowardly Lion. The Cowardly Lion represents a part of us that gets scared, wants to run away, or hide when faced with big or scary problems. We learned that the Cowardly Lion musters up courage from within himself. He already had the inner power to stand up to life's hardest challenges by showing his courage.
We now come to the character of the wizard. We can see that the wizard is not really a wizard at all. He is a carnival man pretending to be something he is not, hiding behind a curtain to hide the truth. Sometimes we are too, led by empty promises or glittery pretenses, pinning our hopes and dreams on things that are not real, only to have them dashed, dismissed, or crushed. We know that turning to God, the one source of all things, is where we can always place our faith and realize our greatest potential.
Hold on. Thank you. Finally, I'd like to introduce the qualities represented by the Munchkins. The Munchkins represent our curiosity, our playfulness, our joy, innocence, and kindness. They personify the kinds of qualities you'd want to take along with you on a big journey. They remind us to start at the beginning and follow the yellow brick road that calls to us. What the story doesn't tell us is the yellow brick road is full of twists and turns, and we better take care to use our brains, our heart, and our courage. Thank you, kids. You may be seated. Okay. An interesting fun fact we discovered about The Wizard of Oz is, if you'll remember in the movie, it starts out in black and white, and then it morphs into this magical color wonderland. Well, did you know that the entire film was filmed in color? Well, how did they achieve that black and white? The technicians actually colored the first few scenes with sepia ink, that brownish black ink. They colored all the frames in the thing up to this point. They were trying to give it that old-fashioned look. And this was not an easy feat back in the 1930s. They also did one other thing. In the bedroom scene, when Dorothy wakes up, the set designers painted her entire bedroom, all around the bed and everything, in that sepia brownish black ink. They painted the body double, and this is what we created. If you watch closely, Dorothy's body double, Betty Danko, as Dorothy, opens the door of the house, and then she steps out of the frame just as Judy Garland, our heroine, steps into the rainbow of Munchkinland. That's Danko, and here's Judy Garland. And that's how they achieved that magical wonder back in the 1930s. Here's something else you might not know, that the song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, was not part of the original movie. But Judy Garland had this wonderful gift of singing, so they introduced this song to give her something to sing. We talked a lot about Somewhere Over the Rainbow in class, and we played the song several times. When I asked the kids, what does over the rainbow mean to you? Crosby said, it's our happy place. Yeah, some might view it as heaven. It's a place where our troubles melt like lemon drops. But is heaven out there? Or is heaven in here? Science of Mind teaches another spiritual principle called heaven. Heaven is the state of awareness of our true nature. We experience our true nature to the degree we become aware of it. We actively seek our true nature of every individual's unique expression of it. And this experience is sure to be attained by all. I want you to drink that in, because that is my favorite part. It is sure to be attained by all. That doesn't mean just the Scarecrow, or just the Tin Man, or just the Lion. It means that Dorothy gets her dream too. And what we discovered is that heaven, or the good that we seek, already exists in the mind of God, and it exists within us. Throughout my life, I've often turned to the story of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. When the economic downturn in 2009 occurred, me and my family were living in New York, and it felt like a tornado lifted us off of our foundation. Well, we picked ourselves up, we moved back to Arizona, and we began to recreate our lives. We shared some laughs, we shared some tears, we met some new friends, and I began taking a few Science of Mind classes. The Wizard of Oz story, Dorothy encounters many challenges and many obstacles that challenge her thoughts, her emotions, and her trust. Ernest Holmes writes this: with good-natured flexibility, free your thought from any sense of anxiety or strain or indecision or deep-seated fear or concern, knowing that you have only to keep your mind steady and clear, fixed on the potential perfection of the universe that we live in. Could it be that heaven is right here, right now? In youth church, we talked a lot about Dorothy pivoting and having flexibility. We talked about when the tornado was coming and she was trying to get into the cellar and her family couldn't hear her. She had to think quick. She didn't have time to fret and moan and say, oh, now what am I gonna do? Dang it. She listened to the intuition within her and she ran into the house to be safe, where she got bonked on the head. However, she also had to pivot when at the very end, the Scarecrow gets his thing, the Lion gets his, and on. But she and the Toto are in the hot air balloon with the wizard, and Toto jumps out. Well, Dorothy's not about to leave with the wizard and leave her dog, so what does she do? She hops out, and the balloon sails off without her. Resiliency, intelligence, and infinite power. These are messages that we are teaching our kids. I know that life can be hard sometimes. We can find ourselves blown off of our foundation. This is true for every adult and for every kid out there. But if you keep your mind steady and focused on the potential perfection of this universe that we live in, heaven is right here, right now. And you too can discover your own path home. Glenda the Good says this: home is a place we all must find, child. It is not just a place where you eat or sleep. Home is knowing. Knowing your mind, knowing your heart, knowing your courage. If we know ourselves, we are always home, anywhere. So one final thing I'd like to leave you with our talk today. My husband Tom helped me with this. Is that most of the characters we see in that movie and in that story were adults. They were the mentors and the guides and the encouragers in young Dorothy's life. Think about that. They were the adults. Adults are influencers. You've all heard about that on TikTok. Adults can make a positive impact on the growth and enlightenment of our young people. Each of you, as grown-ups, can make a significant contribution to the lives of these young people. So I welcome your love. I welcome your prayers. I welcome your personal involvement to make our youth and family ministry thrive and flourish. I invite you to make these kids feel special and a valued part of this NVC community and our world. Thank you.
Before we do all the thank yous, let's just center in within. Let us take a breath, come to our heart space that has been moved. Let us recognize that there truly is only one life, one all-inclusive energy. We call it God, we call it love, we call it harmony, joy, abundance, whatever word resonates with you. And as we approach this oneness of life, we know that it has always been within. Deep at the center of our being, we are these qualities of the divine. And it is this invitation to remember and to recognize again, God and I are one eternally. And so it is from this place of deep knowingness, of gratitude for all the good that has been shared here, for the wisdom of everyone, including the munchkins and including the witches and everyone, that I speak this word of blessing for our youth and family ministry, for our youth and family director, Reverend Laurie Frisbee, for every person that has ever been touched by the work that is being done, not only through the youth and family ministry, but by every part of this blossoming and thriving community. I want to speak a special word of blessings for all the beloveds who have reached out to our ministry of prayer. May you find yourself in a hospital or at home, here in the sanctuary, or somewhere in the world. We know that our knowingness, our deep conviction is what heals. And so we breathe in the deep knowingness of love, of light, of peace, of harmony, of the eternal loving kindness of sweet spirit exposing all of us, sharing it with all of us. And so it is with a grateful heart and so much love that I simply place this word into universal law. I let it be, and together we know this as we say, and so it is.